Ken Rutkowski, welcome to Metal Connect, where we get to spend time with a speaker in the past. And this is an opportunity for you to ask questions, but of course, this is for the metal community to watch over time. I had this distinction back in December of 2020 to host a series of panels at GITEX in Dubai. And one of the panelists was somebody that kind of blew my mind, because it wasn't about what we were supposed to discuss, and that's high-tech things that are going on with blockchain and fintech. It was about human emotions, but about the creative side of looking at the world uniquely. And Olinga, when you sat down with us, first, I have to admit, you are probably one of those individuals that just never stops thinking. There's no way you could say I'm in meditation mode. Am I right?
Yeah, meditation doesn't really go with me. No, you're right.
Yeah, you can never.
I didn't go to Montessori school, that's for sure.
Yeah, but how would you describe yourself to others if someone else that really knew you would describe you?
Oh, well, that's very interesting. Okay, you always catch me with these questions, which, you know, I must do interviews every 2 days, I think, for the BBC or this or that. And every time I speak to you, you come up with things I've never thought of, okay? So people would be surprised. So I'm a introvert, and yet people believe I'm extroverted. I am quite antisocial as a person, okay? But people think, wow, this guy, you know, he's just life and soul, you know, big mouth. And I am super humbled, you know, and I think I haven't achieved anything. And from outside,
like
people
haven't achieved anything.
I haven't achieved anything.
Yeah, that's that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And people think from outside, oh my God, this guy, he's got it all, and you know, he's got no looks or anything else, but you know, money and all the other crap that goes with it. But I really feel the only thing that I have contributed in life, you know, are effectively what I'm doing now, and it's minuscule. And as you say, who knows? It'll take 5 years, 10 years, maybe never. Who knows? All right.
Okay, you've made your fortune.
Yeah.
You've made your fortune multiple times. Yeah. Family is very important.
Yeah.
And in this process of fortune and family, feelings came into play. Okay? Fortune, family, feelings. And I do want to talk about some of the crazy stuff you've done, but I do want to talk about this whole idea of emotional currency, because I really think it's fascinating, especially if we could start judging countries based upon the emotional connection their citizens have with the GDP of the actual country. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, perfect. It's as if you've been tracking me in the last few days. So
I have been.
Okay. Okay, very good. So right, let's start here. So actually, my journey really started only about in the last. I'm 60 years old, and last time you guys kicked me in the head because you said I talked about I'm an old man, blah blah blah, all that crap. But my journey started in 2008 when my daughter, you know, at that time I was sitting there with my, you know, what blah blah blah, 7 houses and 9 houses and 7 cars and, you know, all the 3 divorces and all the usual crap that money comes, you know, with money, you know, all the nonsense. And my daughter, whose apartment this is, okay, who's an adult, 24, 35 at the time, she had a couple of breakdowns in 2008. And she hears voices now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a hard gig. Mm-hmm. And it changed my life. And wife number 3 disappeared. Her mother disappeared. Everybody disappeared. And at that point, I thought, wow, I'm here, last man standing. I've got to change completely. And I've obviously contributed towards this, this epic loss in her life. And I thought, well, I understand financial currency. I understand, the currency of world finance is the dollar, but what's the currency of non-financial stuff? What is the currency of love and happiness and hope? And so I went on a mission to change my life and myself. And I can tell you, Ken, I've never been so happy in my entire life as I am right now. Okay, never. Since the age of 11. So things have radically changed. And when you start looking at this, let's bring it up to date. Let's forget the 12 years, the journey. I want to bring really to exactly the point you said. You and I met in Dubai. Dubai has financial wealth, fabulous wealth. Arab countries in the top 3% of the world financially, but they're not in the top 20% list of soft power. No Arab country in the top 20. And they go, what? We have more than just money. And so in the Middle East, as an example, they are trying to recreate themselves. There is, Dubai is trying to put a city on Mars, UAE in 100 year 2112, I think, and they're spending $500 billion to do that. Next door, Saudi Arabia is creating a city called Neom with $500 billion, a city for 1 million people. That's all. And that is on a new paradigm for society. So Dubai has a ministry of happiness. It has a ministry of tolerance. It is, we don't have that in America, do we? We don't have that in Britain. These are new paradigms. They're saying society is not just GDP. It isn't just, because we got oil, blah, 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 in Middle East. We want to be known for these other values. And indeed, in the last 12 months, I've been doing this same crap for 12 years, and no one, for honestly, yes, we got blah blah, 188,000 people. I gave a speech to the Pope of Vatican and all that, but we weren't mainstreamed at all. Suddenly, in the last 12 months, things have dramatically changed for us. Netflix contacted me about a month ago when I'm doing a whole documentary, at the end of the summer about our journey and where we got to. And in the last 12 months, we've had that's probably them. We've had saying the rights of the film. In the last 12 months, we've had Mark Carney, who is the governor of the Bank of England, who was the governor of the Bank of England, was the governor of the Bank of Canada. He has retired, and he gave a series of BBC series of lectures called the Reef Lectures, and he went, GDP is no longer a representation of our society in the world, that we should look at non-financial value that a country operates on, and happiness and hope. And you think, wow, Mark, why did you say that when you were a bank of governor bank? Now you just retired. Now you realize money is not the only problem. It took me a tragedy of my daughter to change my life, to understand that.
Well, most of these things take tragedies, Olinga. So tragedies, challenges. I mean, heck, it took 9/11 to bring the United States together. So tragedy is what makes us an us, not just a we.
You're 100% right. I wouldn't be on this journey, frankly, if it wasn't for my daughter, and that has brought me immense happiness and hope, and this work. And the work we did came from 2008, really from the banking crisis, and where we are now has come really from the COVID crisis, because people have had time to sit at home, self-reflect, go, it doesn't matter how much money I have, I still die from this illness, so I need to change. We've had Das Gupta, who's a professor from Cambridge, Professor Sir Das Gupta, He was asked by UK government and by the World Economic Forum to come up with a new look at biodiversity. He just issued a huge 600-page report, and it's called a Dasgupta report. And he says GDP is no longer the way that countries should be looked at. The Vatican came out with something called the economy of Pope Francis, and end of last year, after I met you, and has come up with a new campaign saying, again, we need a new economy for the world. So there is a movement that has now moved our way. And so we're getting stuff, some of the projects that we've done, and the most biggest project that's ever landed on us, I'm going to announce in your show, because I kept it for you because I thought this is a gig I'd like to announce.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Anyone else? I've not told anyone else. Okay. So when you talk about the currency of a world, of a non-financial value, we've got a banking project where you can bank money and land and diamonds and gold, normal hard assets, but also the intangible stuff like love and happiness and hope, and that's in the Middle East. And that's why I was out there in Dubai to announce that. We've got, all kinds of these blended model projects, but not the biggest mainstream project. And this arrived, if I ask you, what's the biggest community in the world, Ken? And you go, is it Christians? Is it Muslims, the Muslim community in the world? Is it, I gave a speech recently and talked to BBC. I said there'll be a Trump coin soon, I'm sure, because, representing 72 million people who believe in that ideology. Is it that? No, the biggest community in the world is something that represents 20% of the planet, and that's disabled people. 20% of the world is registered as disabled officially by government.
By the way, there's a term for that. We call them differently abled. Is the term we?
Okay.
Isn't that a great name? Differently able.
It is a great name, and I actually love that because I've been looking for better words for this, because it's so old. Last Thursday to call someone disabled, and so including, of course, mental health. This is very groovy to be have mental health problems, but not very groovy to be in a wheelchair.
Yep.
So, and 37.5% if you include the families around them, and it's about 63% in the world if you look at the wider community that has to support. And you think this huge community is marginalized in the world. This community that affects virtually everybody. 1 in 4 have disabled, or registered has clinical mental health problems, and in the world. Yet it has no economic power. It is prejudiced against. It is ignored completely, by banks and by main institutions, et cetera, because they're often poverty-ridden as well, So suddenly, this huge community, and they've come to us, and some of the most great celebrities, which I'm not allowed to name yet, who are disabled, come to us and said, we want a currency, a cryptocurrency called the purple token, the purple coin. Now, you will know that the pink currency is associated with LGBTQ plus and the gay community, but they wanted one called the purple coin that represents their values. And so today, I'm telling you that this is the project. We haven't publicly announced it anywhere. We will be doing it on social media probably in about 10 days time, but ahead of that.
So the purple, it's called the purple token, purple coin?
Purple coin, the purple coin.
Purple coin. And how does the proceeds of the purple coin go to the differently able?
Okay, so the purple coin it's on a blockchain, okay, and so where it represents is when governments, for example, pay through a cryptocurrency, and as you know, many governments are now, about 82% of the governments in the world have now got digital currency. They're coming up with a digital currency. They haven't got it. The only one we have is the one that I sit on. I sit on the Chinese government's blockchain committee and cryptocurrency committee, and that controls around 170% of the world interest in the sector, about $103 trillion worth. It's a
You're on the digital yuan.
Yes, digital yuan, correct. And so it's a big gig, and they've actually released that product, and we're in pilot stage there. But every country, and the UK announced theirs about 2 days ago. Okay,
Right.
Rishi Sunak did.
But the digital yuan is the biggest one that's out there.
Absolutely.
Next to Tether.
Correct. And the reason is I gave a speech to central bankers recently, not recently, about 6 months ago, all kinds of central bankers there. And I said to them, what will be the currency by the year 2030, United Nations? I said, will it be money, or will it be sentiment, or ideology, or data? And not one central banker said it will be money, not one. So they were split between data, sentiment, and ideology.
Damn, that's deep.
Okay. So it is, and it means that we are going through a complete transformation. And so in our world, in my world, in your world, in the West, we think data belongs to companies we give our data to them because they give us products for free. Google, Facebook, Amazon, Instagram, blah blah blah. They go, look, we give you Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp for free. Shut up. Just give us your data, and we want to sell you more, or we want to influence the way you vote, which is where the Netflix came in, because they did a program about Cambridge Analytica and the way they influenced the voting in America. So they now want, that was data being manipulated for certain purposes which they would consider bad. In Europe, we consider data to be my data, my way, GDPR, which has been largely a complete failure, Kev, because all we do is hit cookie buttons 30 times a day, and no one reads any terms and conditions, right? Yeah. So it's not my data, it's not my way. But in China, they go, look, we have 1.2 billion people, 1.4 billion people. We have 72 BRI countries, One Belt, One Road countries. We cannot respect individual rights. They're very open about it. We cannot control that. Data belongs to us to safeguard the society using data techniques.
So wait, are you saying then the currency of the future is data, or is it sentiment?
Well, I honestly, until recently, I started with data. Sentiment is used every single day of our lives, by Google, etc. They look at our WhatsApp, they look at our Gmail, and they go, what you worried about right now? Oh, he's worried about knees. What's he doing on his mobile phone? Where is his mobile phone? What's his browser? Sell him knee products because he's just told his granny, that I'm worried about my knees. So let's sell some products to him. Sentiment analysis is used every day by these companies.
Sorry.
No problem. The ideology, however, has become the new buzzword. Okay, ideology. And actually, we have Trump to love for that, because, he's gone, look, whether you like it or not, it's nothing to do with truth anymore with Trump. He said it's ideologically driven. So people believe in that ideology. And in China, people believe in that ideology. And so they use data, blockchain, and 5G, and IoT, and AI, fourth industrial revolution technologies, to control what people in the West would say control and dominate. What they would say is to safeguard and able to react. Hence, for example, with COVID, they've managed to react very fast because they had data. They have something called a social credit system, which again, they would say is to reward good behavior, according to them, good behavior. But at least they have a system, right?
But wait, Olinga, haven't we seen this already in China? China has gone across the board with this, right? So they've turned into that whole Black Mirror episode where data and reactions create a score, and that score then elevates you to a certain social level. But let's step back before we even do that. China has created something because they've analyzed the data through the WeChat platforms and everything that they brought together to analyze. So China has a plugin to Tencent and all of these corporate entities. The United States or governments don't have a connection into Facebook or into Salesforce. They don't have that. They're private entities. So China had a leg up. Let's step back. when we say the happiest country in the world, people would say, oh, the land of 10,000 smiles being Bhutan's it. And that's not the case. I think Sweden has ranked higher than Bhutan has. But someone had to create that measurement. How do you create an initial measurement of happiness or emotions before we go to cryptocurrency and tokenization of that? How do we first create a platform of where our happiness can be judged? How do you do that?
Okay, so, you know, we made an attempt and we were very successful in a very, very narrow area in the world and a very boring area. But the Pope speech, you know, the Vatican speech was because we came up with a concept. Back in 2011, I was commissioned by the then team around David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the UK. I was an impact investment advisor to come up with a way to measure non-financial value, you know,
Right.
happiness and the hope, etc. And they said they want it in a single metric, one number. What? And they wanted it to be fast, quick, cheap, because, you know, they said, look, there's about in that time there were, I recall the figures were 30 million. 160,000 companies in the UK, in Europe, 30 million in the States, I think 40 million in China, 1 billion organizations in the world. They couldn't measure all this. And that came because of a crisis of banking. You know, there was an American called Bob Diamond in heading up Barclays Bank, and he had said in 2010, we apologized twice already for banking crisis. Can we now forget it and go on? And the world had gone, oh, God, you didn't say that, did you? I mean, what, twice? You think that was it? You know, and so they said he understands financial value, as I used to understand only financial value.
How do you get to the emotional side?
Right. So I went away and I thought, okay, where do I start? The single number metric that represents financial value in the world, universally accepted, is called the price earnings ratio, the PE ratio. It controls every single stock market in the world. It's price, yield, capitalization, PE. And I went, okay, let's call it the SE ratio, the social earnings ratio. And that means the SE ratio, meaning, so PE plus SE has total value then. So everything has financial value and everything has non-financial value. And together, we should be reporting on total value. So how do you measure that? Well, we measure SE using exactly the same techniques that Facebook, Amazon, Google, the Chinese use. And so we measure our sentiment through sentiment analysis. Secondly, we give a financial figure to it, which is the bit you're coming to, I think. You know, I go, I love you, $4.50, you know, and then we do it through fast data in milliseconds. And so then we have a system where we can actually come up with a monetary value and put it on the same platform, on this equally, in our case now blockchain, but equally on the same platform as financial data. And so we can come out with a financial figure for total value. Okay. Now, how do we know is it right? The fact is, my friend, you don't. You have to be consistently wrong. That's the point. And we became, you know, at first the social liberal left hated our guts because they thought, wow, you moron, you are giving a dollar value to love. Are you like an imbecile? And we went, no, look, we're doing it because the first area we applied it to was actually the really dull area of procurement, public sector procurement. It's a law in most countries now that you cannot make public sector procurement unless you deliver social value. I cannot build $1 billion bridge or a railway line for $5 billion unless I'm not just the best price, I'm not tendering with the best speed and quality, but now am I creating social value, happiness, and hope, etc. So
Olinga, wait, I want to step back. Sound bites are not your strength.
No.
Wouldn't the market dictate the value?
Social value and happiness and all these things are super complex. Markets do not dictate value because they're directional. I love you doesn't mean you love me.
I get that, but I love you is one-sided of a value of an emotion on that individual as opposed to the reciprocal side. So there still could be some type of intrinsic value, even though it's on one side. I love George Clooney, doesn't mean George Clooney loves me, but there's a love on the George Clooney fan side.
Right. So the market value of that can be assessed through a sentiment analysis. If I said the word, let's put it really simple. If I say 34 million people like on Instagram, like Kim Kardashian, okay, she is effectively touching 34 million people's heart.
Right.
She is making, whether you like it or not, she's making. You have to respect that the person has made these 34 million people a bit of brought them some happiness, all right?
Yes.
And social media can convey that. And what sentiment analysis does is slightly further to that and goes, we can measure that by saying, what's the strength of happiness?
Yes.
Around, okay, what is the growth of it, et cetera, and come up with numbers. And we monetize it simply from a formula that I created, which took off in this particular area.
But it's got to be an AI part of it. It can't just be a mathematical formula. It's got to have constant growth inside of it, determining what's going on with the current market situation, global situation. Weather's got to play a part of it. I mean, so it's got to be GPS-based emotions then too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So with the things that we've written 400 papers on this, and so not only we've written, I mean, we in the community of people interested in this stuff. So yes, it's to do with hyperlocality, where you are. It's to do with, it is directional. It doesn't flow like currency. If I walk past a homeless person and I smile at them, currency, if I gave them money, I've lost money. But if I don't lose a smile, do I? I don't lose love. I haven't lost. I still have love to give to my child or to the next person. Mm. It's not transactional that way. So it's an evolving science.
Oh my God, my mind's been blown on this aspect, and that is.
And the point is this, my friend. The point is that and why Netflix are interested is that, okay, we use data now to sell more crap to us and to influence our politics in the West. We use data in the East to social credit system and control whatever people. So why not yet use data to nudge us to better behavior? Okay.
Absolutely. Or I believe the world's going to go more nomadic, especially if Elon Musk's internet's going to work. Zoom has allowed us to do this more often. So I'm in Bali right now, and no one needs to know that. But I picked this because I believe people are happier here. And of course, the price is different. Now, if there was a real way for me to see where happiness, sentiment in the world is, like weather, and determine where I want to be, that's a game changer.
It is. And this is what these great people, far greater than us, Mark Carney and Dasgupta and the Pope, have talked about. They're saying GDP is no longer the metric of the world, okay? Because we should now be monitoring these other emotions around the world and where countries have brought in. And this is why Middle East is trying to take that land.
Yeah. But wait. Take the Middle East. God, I hate to do this, everyone, but we're in a closed, safe group. You have the Emiratis or the Qatarians, and then you have the expats that are there, and then you have the immigrant workers.
Right.
There probably is a value in that government scheme of what the value of each one of those emotions are on the hierarchy of who that individual is in the population scheme.
Yes, right. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. And
God,
China
has established that now.
And China, well, they and the reward is different as well, and how they deal with it is different. Okay, and it is to do with ideology. So these are all new paradigms. The only thing we've done is come up with a way which was accepted in a particular industry of procurement, and now we're broadening it to other things. And when the cleverer people than us, of which 99% of people are like that. And the West Coast companies come in and bring their resources to it. We think they will change the world. We're trying to set up right now, well, we have set up, we're not trying to, an Institute of Ideology in Code, the home of total value. We're establishing in Singapore, in Dubai, in London, and now I was speaking to some guys in the States this morning from Reuters, etc. They want to set up in the States over the West Coast. So to study this stuff, to try and transform our society. So going back to the disability question, which I asked and I failed to answer, so governments like UK government in particular has a huge social benefit system, but all governments have to pay money for people with disabilities or for whether it's mental health or physical disabilities. What they want, what they need is a data tracking. They want to know that if I'm giving you, Olinga, you're a fat guy already, I'm giving you, because of your disability, you're obese, and you're causing yourself problems, I'm giving you money and you're not going buy more chips and getting fatter. You've got an alcohol dependency, Olinga, I'm giving you money and you're going out and buying more booze. This is, they want data to show that their stuff isn't being, a currency that has digital data reflects back the data, goes back to government to say where the money is being spent.
That's Big Brother at the highest level.
Right, but this is Big Brother for good. That's my point. So we're using stuff that's already happening in West Coast, stuff that's happening in China, stuff that's happening everywhere for good. So I am disabled. I get this stuff. I get 20% off at Starbucks because they want to be aligned to my values. I go to buy. You see, there's no point in talking this crap unless I can spend happiness.
So Purple gains access to discounts or privileges.
Right. And absolutely right. There's discounts in the retail sector and privileges in other recognition. And we no longer need to actually say, oh, look, honestly, I'm very depressed. I'm clinically depressed. And please, here's my QR code saying I'm depressed. With stuff like 5G, it absolutely recognizes who you are. It's seamlessly integrates in that system.
I love it.
You don't need to go out there with IoT. You don't need to go out there.
Makes all the sense. Hey guys, real quick, questions. Don't let me dominate this. David, did you just come up with that saying, ideal?
One of our partners, actually, this guy Cyrus Merry, and his company's called Ideal Working, and he was the one behind the Rooney Rule in the NFL. There was the attorney behind getting that done, the Texaco case, Coca-Cola, and a few others. Yeah. So anyway, when Olinga mentioned ideology, and I thought he'd like the acronym.
Right. I've just taken note. I've just copied that. That is great. Thank you.
And I'm happy to introduce you to Olinga, to these guys.
We are really, honestly, we are, we're nobodies. And so we are asking these great thinkers, these thought leaders to come forward and join and disagree with us, but come and join this, and we are asking you guys to come and join. There's no monetary reward for it.
Well, there is monetary reward, because if there is an actual system that allows us to measure where not just our population, but our companies, because I would see microtizing this first and putting into a corporate infrastructure to allow HR to know, or the corporate level, is our company happy? Are they angry? Are they mad? Are they polarized?
Well, and they already do this from a risk basis. I mean, these techniques are, they go, BP gets up every morning and there's a report that lands on their desk, like all banks, like all oil companies. We've just been, since I met you, we now advise some petroleum companies. Can you imagine petroleum companies? Because they go, there's a company called Wildcat on the London stock market asked us to look at,
Wildcat oil wells. Yep, they're a drilling company.
And they go, well, because people think we're basically Nazis. They say, we want to create also a better world, but through a mainstream work in the petroleum industry. So we want to create, in the ESG environment, what's the impact on the world? So the world is kind of is really changing, and whether it's data or sentiment or ideology, these things are coming to the fore.
Yeah.
COVID has enabled that to happen.
Why do you, Bernardo, think it needs to be decentralized? Just curious, Bernardo.
Okay.
Because it can't have a central figure running it. It needs to be run by the communities. This is a totally, I'm working on probably the largest decentralized platform right now, which is a DAO to help blockchains be completely decentralized. We have over $1 billion already in this decentralized. I'd love to talk to you a little bit further about how we could, work this through, but I see this completely as a decentralized community. It can't have a central figure running it or somebody saying, we're in control of it, because then all of a sudden it becomes, what's best for that corporation or that.
There's an agenda. There's an agenda.
Yeah. So if it's a decentralized platform where the entire social community gets to vote on and picks, the direction it needs to go, I think the sentiments that you're talking about will actually flourish,
We agree. We absolutely agree with you, Bern. And
Thank you. And we've been having this conversation with Ken about why decentralization is actually the future of the largest entity.
Be fair with me. I said that there is no billion-dollar decentralized company that's out right now. There is none.
Well, here you go. This is
might be next.
Right.
I get it. Right. I get it.
And guys, this whole decentralization and blockchain sector, frankly, has not mainstreamed at all. And it hasn't. There's not, as Ken says, there is not one single example of a mainstream application, not even Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like a drop, is like a rounding error in the financial world. It is nothing. So the point is, however, we believe the biggest application was exactly as Bernardo said, is going to be in this changing of our society, where what blockchain does, it puts a monetary value of any asset, any digital asset from A to B, it moves it. And that can be love as well as money, as diamonds as well as hope. And it can put it on the same parity. And so you can change one for the other. You can exchange. So you can imagine a world where we're not killing each other for ISIS against KKK. We're actually going to have a battle in the exchange.
I love when data becomes open source, because I use it to determine a lot of my investments. For example, I look at shipping routes around the world, and I look at where container traffic is moving, tankers. So I know if there's a lot of traffic moving to Singapore and they're leaving fast, that means things are getting unloaded or loaded and move out. If they're sitting there for a long time, I know in my mind there's an economic situation. Or I look at flight paths of planes. When a flight path through the Red Sea is more towards Saudi Arabia, not over towards Iran, there might be certain types of war issues. So I look at flight patterns because it's open source now. Boy, if emotions can become open source, like what Bernardo just said on a blockchain, imagine asking the question, are people feeling good about Apple Computer right now? Emotionally, oh my God, it's going to change the way I would invest into a company or buy a home in a certain community. Or
you're 100% right.
This is so big.
I agree. Right at the beginning of Bitcoin and decentralization, the DAO, etc., as Bernardo has said, people talked about guys like Chris Larson of XRP, of Ripple, and Don Tascott, of fame of his book, said that the biggest movement, the biggest change in the world of blockchain will be in the social space. And yet we instantly then forgot that and went into, oh, look, Bitcoin, money. Now, I think now has come the time. I really believe it. It's a transformative piece of society. It took 30 years before the internet actually came up with a Google. So we are now coming to the point.
But Olinga, isn't this the internet, not the Google? Let me explain. In order for Google to be there, the data had to exist. So the internet created the data for the Google to exist to become the billion-dollar company, trillion-dollar company that it is. You're creating the internet of sentiment and emotions. So that internet then will have the cottage industries that would be built above it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think we're operationalizing it as opposed to creating it. So there are many great people, including your audience, who come up with, who now understand that GDP and money isn't the only thing, and who are saying, at first, I have to be honest to you, when I heard Mark Carney and these guys, Das Gupta, and go, I went, wow, man, it's taking you a decade to go, oh, by the way, money isn't the only thing. And wow. Have you never had any tragedy in your life of any kind for you to understand? Right. But all these conversations have people get lots of applause and they give great speeches and they get knighthoods and so. But the point is that we don't know how to operationalize a new system of the world. And all we've done is come up with a way, and we believe others will come up with better ways, but a way to operationalize the idea that sentiment and love and happiness will drive our society. Indeed, and the conversations in Dubai, because these ministers have, the Minister of Happiness is the chief of staff for the UAE. These are serious stuff, but they need a way to operationalize it within society, so that if you're creating happiness, you get to bear interest rates. If you understand, it's got to have a financial recourse to it. It's got to have a.
Could you imagine? Yeah, but could you imagine then when there is a value put on it, how economics then will play a part, saying our population isn't happy, we have to change this because no one's going to invest into our society anymore.
Right.
It's a complete life changer.
100%.
It's also interesting to note that even central banks, and especially the SEC, has absolutely mandated that blockchains be decentralized for them to be able to operate in their space, right? So decentralization for blockchains is a key figure if they want to operate in countries like the US and Europe, and not be considered I forget the term, their coins are actually not an asset. What do they call it? Excuse a security. Correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
But this is beyond Bitcoin. This is.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
This is literally like creating a global currency where I know
Correct.
Bitcoin is, but everyone can have it. Where
Correct.
Bitcoin, not everybody has a value to it. Now, it's almost like having a global daily vote. That's powerful.
Why? Sorry, David.
I was just gonna say, wasn't there a TV show where you had to vote if somebody was good or bad, and then by the points they die at the end or so? Anyway, that's what sparked.
I mean, in some ways, Survivor's like this, right? You're voted off the island, or American Pop Idol's like this. They're all vote based. We're equipped to handle this. The problem is, it was always, especially on the idols, it was always a judge. This is going where Bernardo's saying it's got to be decentralized. It can't be a judge or committee. It's got to be a global population.
Yeah, and then the stock. Let me just add too. In there is a thing, with alpha data and how the shareholders now and the big funds are demanding companies invest, or that the money goes towards companies that are doing the right thing and are aligning with their values. And they've had data that's so out of whack. And that's something we're working with Cyrus. Our new CEO is coming from IDC and is starting in a week, because it's really all about the data to fix these bigger things. Because that's what we're finding in our space. These companies, they're spending the same money. It's like they just need a solution, because now the Gen Zers are not going to work for them. They're not going to buy from them unless they get their act together. So whether they could argue before they should have spent money on this stuff, they definitely should now, and they need to track it as well. So I love it.
Olinga, first, two things. How could we help?
Wow. I would love you if you would. I will
That's $1.47, by the way, that love. That was $1.47.
Yeah, right. You know, no free lunches, right? So yeah, you can try that with your partner. You know, go and say, you know, I love you, $4.50. Hilarious. You know, run is all I can say. You know, so I want you to join this institute. We even hate the word institute, but join it for free and bring great thinkers like yourself and others along, because as Bernardo said, it's only collectively can we do this. Okay, this is way beyond. You know, when Netflix contacted me, they went, yeah, okay, we've done this program called The Great Hack about Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, and our next program we want to do is about dating. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And you have brought 8 people on this call from LA and New York to talk to me about dating. And I go, no, man, you're missing the point. And I went, blah, 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 blah. And I went, oh my God. Oh my, right. You mean we want to bring these great, you know, the Mark Carneys, we want to bring these great people to it because we believe, you know, in today's call from these guys in Reuters, they say, oh, are you trying to be a ringmaster? I said, no, man, we don't want to be part of any of it. We don't need to be part of it. We don't want to be, you know, we're not good enough to be part of it. We just want to create a platform to actually operationalize what we're saying. And we've come up with a one way, but by no means is it probably the best way. You know, the issue that you came up with right at the beginning, you know, I said to you, you got to be consistently wrong. About 5 times a year, we go to court, and consistently 5 times a year almost. And because when people tender for $10 billion contract and they fail to win it because of our metric, they obviously get their lawyers, they get Slaughter and May out, and they go to court and they go, I love black children and I love trees. And my lawyers will just tell you how much I love black children and trees. And I want that contract because I create lots of social value. And we always say our answer, we have never lost in court. Our answer is we are consistently wrong. We are always use the same technique to come up with the numbers. And I'm so sorry, sir, you did not win this contract this year. You came number 2, because usually the price differential is only 1%. But because you don't create as much social value in this contract as this other person, they have dominated. And this percentage difference is around 20%. 20% difference between the social value of one company and another, as opposed to pricing on a contract, which is only usually 1%. And yet, as you guys know, well, for example, in construction industry, after a contract is signed, there is usually an additional after contract, post-contract signing, they come up with another 19% usually, or 18 to 19% of price variation, where you go, oh, by the way, I want the bridge to be green. And you go, did you just say, by the way, you want it green? Well, that's another 10%. You go, what? So, hey, read the contract. So, you know, 1%, you know, it is a rounding error, all right? Is a, you know, when you're creating social value.
Olinga, if we're able to join, again, what is this organization? What's it called?
Yeah, okay. So the working title, and you know, the working title is Institute of Ideology and Code, the Home of Total Value. The ideology and code means we can codify ideology, and the home of total value means it should be, you know, financial, non-financial. It's really uncatchy title. We need some guy like you, Ken, to come up with something far better. And so far we've, you know, we've said London, Singapore, and Dubai, but you know, a US base. If you guys come and say we will, it doesn't have to be physical. You can even say that the title is crap. Come up with something better for us all, you know. And we will be formulating this. We were on this, getting on with this until, frankly, this disability thing came along, and it's just swamped us. It's so big. What excites us about that is a substantial portion. You know, in everything else we do, you know, like let's say there's a black coin. Well, the white people, you know, go, well, hang on, what about the white coin, man? I go, oh yeah, that's good point. Yeah, you know, what about? But disability, very few.
I think disability makes all the sense in the world. And by the way, there's I'm not sure if you know Chris Martin is from Coldplay, the singer. So
yes, I know.
Chris is
I didn't
working
know. Is he on Cole?
Yeah, well, Coldplay is one of the most popular bands in the world, but
Yeah,
Chris Martin
yeah.
and one of the metal members have created a differently able platform that they're
Wow.
launching with artists from around the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but they're in the group. So I
Wow.
asked two things. First, I'm asking one is how we can help. And you said join the coalition, which you're going to give us information on.
Yeah.
The second thing I'm going to say is this: you need to be part of metal, and it's because you need people not just to tell you you're wrong, but to even elevate the way you're thinking. Because I think what happens is you might be around a lot of intellects. You also need to be around a lot of artists and a lot of doers. That's what this community is. We have a nice footprint in the UK. I'm not sure if you're in London, correct?
Yeah.
We have a nice footprint in London. But this is a global phenomenon. I'm in Bali. Come on, I'm on the other side of the world right now from you guys. And what we're doing in Dubai is pretty prominent. So I'd like to see you in the community.
Okay.
Just make it happen.
Sure.
And then the last,
after this call, I'll talk to Sammy, or tomorrow I'll talk to Sammy. Yeah.
And I know you're in your daughter's room. Is that cassettes behind you?
DVDs.
They're DVDs. Okay, got it. I'm thinking they're cassettes. Okay, they're DVDs.
Look at his room. Look at his room.
So,
wow. There's a lot going on in there. Why do you have the ability to be in her room? What is this, the video room, the Zoom room?
No, I'm her carer.
Yeah, but this is a cool room. This is the room that's got, it almost looks like a background you would want it as your Zoom background.
It makes me look intelligent.
Were you on the call when Nolan Bushnell was on? Do you know who Nolan is?
No, I don't.
So Nolan created Atari and Chuck E. Cheese. He's part of our group. Okay?
Oh, wow.
His background is his garage laboratory, and people want screen grabs of it because it's so awesome. It really is. So Olinga, we're going to see you more part of metal. Where could do you have a website for us to go towards?
We haven't created it. Honestly, we have not even got to that. So I'd like you to contact me, DM me in any platform, Twitter, blah, blah, Instagram, whatever. All right. DM is always Olinga Taeed, one word, in Reddit or anything. All right. It'll come to me. I'm putting together basically the first cohort. All right.
Got it.
I'm putting together the first cohort individually and personally on this one.
Got
as
it.
Opposed to,
but all the things you're doing with the governments on sentiment, how do we learn more about those things?
Okay, so you can, on social media, you can follow, we have three kind of hashtags. One is called good is, sorry, oh my God, can you imagine? I've been doing this for a billion years and it's suddenly got on my mind. Good is trending. Let me, oh my God. It's not, no, it's not good is trending.
Oh my God, 60 just found you.
Wow, you see, I've been saying I'm going older. You guys know, you see, what bullshit. Honestly, but I think it's good is trending. Yes, hashtag good is trending. Hashtag procured values and hashtag ideology and code. So on social media, you can see a lot of our projects, or you can come to one of our websites. The main one is called cceg.org.uk. cceg.org.uk.
What's that stand for?
Center for Citizenship, Enterprise, and Governance. It's our not-for-profit that we set up.
Olinga, thank you so much for getting up so damn early to hang out with us. I really appreciate it. And I really would like to see you inside this community, because I think besides us benefiting what you can educate us with, I think these thousands of guys that are here can add so much value to you.
100%.
For sure, I would like to just throw in there that I'd be very interested in helping you develop some websites. I have some great guys that do that kind of thing. I also want to let you know that I'm very interested in developing reputation with me and my team. And I think a lot of the guys at Metal would be great at developing reputation inside your network to move things along. So I look forward. I've already pinged you on LinkedIn. I'm known as Captain Bernardo, so we're here to help. Please join the Metal community if you get a chance.
When I join Metal, can I ask you, is there So is there a kind of a platform where you can see the people and you can just
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
right
oh,
there,
absolutely.
where you talk, right? Okay.
And we do so many calls, like you would really love our finance call that we do with William Quigley. He's worth $20 billion, self-made, and he owns the NFT market. He owns 99.5% of all the NFT patents.
Wow.
And he does a show every single Thursday. I mean, it's an amazing group. And there's 40 different shows. By the way, guys, just to let you know, I just hung up before this call with John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and he's going to start a weekly 1-hour show inside the Metal Portal just for us, for emotional support for us guys, which I'm pretty stoked about. I mean, this guy gets $2,500 an hour, guys, to do a coaching call. So we got him once a week in Metal. But hey, Olinga, thank you so much for joining us. I know you want to go right back to bed.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even back to bed. I just came in from a run. What are you talking about?
All right, that's what I do actually. My Metal calls on Saturdays end at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I do laps and pools. So I'm right with you. Olinga, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everyone, say goodbye to Olinga. Thank him.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you
Olinga.
so much, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Olinga.
Take care.
Bye-bye.